So, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. A very warm welcome to this webinar entitled TVET Teachers and Lifelong Learning. My name is Katie Kaufman, working at the UNESCO Institute for Lifelong Learning, based in Hamburg, Germany. And this webinar is part of UIL's research project, Teachers as Lifelong Learners, supported by Shanghai Normal University. The project aims to identify effective strategies for supporting and developing teachers throughout their careers, transforming teacher education, and training into lifelong learning ecosystems. Before we begin, I would like to give you just some housekeeping information, which you should also be able to see on your screen. This webinar is being recorded, and we encourage you, the participants, to engage with our speakers by entering your questions directly into the Q&A box, which you should be able to see at the bottom of your Zoom window. That being said, please also address your questions to a specific speaker if possible. You can also find some useful resources or relevant links in the chat as they arise throughout the webinar. And now, without further delay, let me stop my share. I'm pleased to invite Ms. Isabel Kampf, Director of the UNESCO Institute of Lifelong Learning, to deliver her opening remarks. Isabel, thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Caitlin, and a warm welcome to all dear colleagues and participants. It's a pleasure to welcome you all to today's webinar on TVET, Teachers and Lifelong Learning, organized as part of our joint research project with Shanghai Normal University on teachers as lifelong learners. So why is lifelong learning so important for TVET? Well, as we all notice, our economies, workplaces, and technologies are changing faster than ever in the past, and adults need opportunities to reskill and upskill throughout their lives. This means TVET systems must offer flexible entry and exit points and recognize, of course, prior learning and provide modular courses and micro-credentials that respond quickly to the rapidly change in labor market demand. And equity and inclusion are very central to this mission. TVET must create opportunities for all of us, especially those who face barriers due to their age, gender, migration status, language, or geography, and also often limited primary education opportunities. Lifelong learning is not just about the skills, it's also about ensuring that everyone has a fair chance to participate in and benefit from economic and social progress in our societies. So to make this vision a reality, TVET teachers play a really vital role. They're not only trainers of technical skills, but also facilitators of lifelong learning, helping learners develop, be more adaptable, help with problem solving, and also be self-directed in their learning process. Teachers themselves must be a model for lifelong learning by continuously updating their skills, embracing digital tools, and staying connected also with the demands and trends in industry. So this transformation requires more than an individual effort by learners. It calls for supportive policies, professional development opportunities, and the recognition of teachers' role in shaping a lifelong learner's culture. Today's webinar is really an opportunity to explore those challenges and solutions together. We will share international trends, learn from diverse experiences, and also discuss strategies to empower TVET teachers as lifelong learners. I would like to thank our speakers, panelists, and all the participants for joining this important dialogue, and especially, of course, our partner, Shanghai Normal University, for their collaboration. So let us use this occasion to reaffirm our commitment to building a culture of lifelong learning here and worldwide. I wish you a wonderful and fruitful discussion and a successful webinar. With many thanks.
Thank you, Isabel. Now we'll begin our main session. So today we have three speakers who will unpack this webinar topic from various perspectives, drawing on their knowledge, experience, and research insights into TVET and lifelong learning. Mr. Han, I know we mentioned you would go first if that's okay with you, and Friedrich can get settled. I see he's joined, but we'll give him a moment to just, get warmed up, I suppose, if that's okay.
Okay.
So, our first speaker then is Mr. Shibin Han. Mr. Han is a professor of educational technology at Tsinghua University School of Education, specializing in blended learning and AI-driven pedagogy. With over 100 publications, he has advanced technology integration in higher and vocational education, while also advising China's Ministry of Education and UNESCO on ICT innovation. Mr. Han will present on TVET teachers' lifelong learning in the digital age and what the research tells us about this context. So, Mr. Han, thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Isabel. Hello, everyone. It's my pleasure and honor to join the webinar to share our research findings. I try to share my slides. Do you see the slides?
I think it's just starting. Give it a moment. There we go. Yeah, if you just do the slideshow presentation.
Okay.
Yep, good to go.
Mhm. Okay. The topic of my talk is TV teachers' lifelong learning in the digital age. What do we know from research? So, as we all know, that AI has profoundly impacted teaching and learning. So, uh, the right now the nowadays the TVET teachers has facing a big challenge. So in my talk, I will focus two issues. The first is what is the current status of TVET teachers in China as lifelong learners in the AI age. The second is how to foster lifelong learning of TVET teachers in terms of AI competence. Here is the AI competence framework for teachers issued by UNESCO in last year. As you see that they have 5 dimensions: human-centered mindset, ethics of AI, AI foundations and implications, AI pedagogy, and AI for professional development. And then the uh, uh, the competence framework divide the teachers into 3 levels. The first level is acquire, the second is deepen, and the third is create. I will use this framework to do a survey. Here is the survey, which was conducted from June to August last year. We collected 915 valid responses from vocational college and vocational school teachers across China. And as you see that here is a percentage of the 3 levels of teacher competence. As you see that the most more than half of teachers in the first level, that is acquire level. And the more important is this diagram. You can see that in 5 dimensions of the framework, the teacher self-report the higher scores in human-centered mindset and ethic of AI, but they reported the lower scores in AI foundations and application and AI pedagogy. Here is the number. So we have we had the conclusions that teacher AI competence is multi-dimensional and evolved from lower to higher levels of AI competence through the interaction of these dimensions. And the more important is that there is a critical gap between teachers' human-centered aspirations and their foundational AS goal. That means the teachers would want to try to use the AI in their daily teaching, but they lack the basic knowledge and skills of AI. Here is another way. We collected the data from all provinces across China between March of April of this year. You can see that we got the 998 valid response from college and school leaders, and we got the 128,000 response from teachers and 1.3 million response from students. So that is large samples. But here is we comparing the competence AI competence between teachers and students. We use the Bloom taxonomy of learning objectives. As you see that in the remember and understand dimension, the student got higher scores than teachers, higher more than higher about 10%. That means the students know AI better than teachers. So that is I think this challenge for the teachers to teach the students. So here is the second issue about how to foster lifelong learning of TVET teachers. This diagram was developed in 2023 in the Handbook of Technical of Vocational Teacher Professional Development in the Digital Age. So you can see that we have three levels efforts: the individual level, institutional level, and the national level. For the individual efforts, the teachers need to provide priorities the upskilling of fundamental AI knowledge and application skills in their daily teaching, and then they need to embed circles of reflection at every stage in applying AI in their daily teaching. Here is a conceptual framework for enhancing teachers' blended teaching competence developed by our team in 2018. So as we see that we have there are three kind of factors that impact the the competence of blended teaching. The first is teacher characteristics, and the second is to training intervention, and the third is most important is school environment, and that means the school need to support the teacher, encourage teacher to use the new technology in their daily teaching. So based on this framework, we developed a model for developing teachers' AI teaching competence. As you see that in the first phase, that is training phase, we used a blended learning model to help teacher to self-learn the basic knowledge and skill about AI. And we organized some workshop to encourage communication, discussion among the teachers. And then our team would give teachers one-to-one follow-up supports in their daily teaching practice. And then after one semester, we help teachers to do a reflection about their teaching using the AI. As you see that beside of our team member for supporting the teachers teaching, we developed an AI agent which can give us the teacher full-time support. Here is the national efforts. I'm responsible for the development the guidelines of application AI in vocational college schools in China. These guideline is issued by the Ministry of Education of China in May of this year. You can see that in these guidelines, we proposed the standard for teacher AI teaching competence. We give a teacher a pathway to developing their AI teaching competence. And we set up some requirements for the ethical and the safe use of AI. And finally, we need some technical foundation for AI application, such as large language models need to be set up in the vocational school. And another national efforts is called a competition-based strategy for teacher professional development. As an advisor of Ministry of Education China, we held the first annual national competition in 2010. As you see that in 2023, about 240 teachers from over 5,000 vocational institutes participate in this competition. This is a large competition. And finally, in China, we have a world-based strategy for teacher professional development. And China has the National Teaching Achievement Award. This national award is offered every 4 years. It's awarded based on the 3 criteria: originality in the context of a Chinese TVET, effective implementation for at least 2 years, and the national influence. So that is the national efforts for to foster lifelong learning of TV teachers. So that is all for my presentation, and thank you for your listening.
Thank you, Mr. Han, for sharing this, very impressive and timely research with us. You raised some really great points, such as, the 3 multidimensional progression levels of teacher agency and competency, including teachers, how they acquire, deepen, and co-create AI knowledge, literacy, and opportunities. In addition, the emphasis on the individual, institutional, and national efforts to support the ongoing development of AI competency of teachers is also very interesting and inspiring to hear about. So thank you so much. I would like to remind our participants to please post any questions you might have to the Q&A box, and our speakers will try to respond there. If we have time at the end, we will also address some of the questions in a more open discussion setting. So we will move to our second speaker. Our second speaker is Mr. Friedrich Hubler. Friedrich, if you're there, I think you are. Mr. Friedrich Hubler is head of the UNESCO UNIVOC International Center for TVET. Mr. Hubler joined UNESCO UNIVOC in November 2021. He's been employed by the United Nations for more than 2 decades and served previously as head of the Education Standards and Methodology section at the UNESCO Institute for Statistics. Today, he will share his insights into interventions for TVET teachers offered by UNIVOC, including examples of promising practices from the UNIVOC network regarding TVET teachers. So, Mr. Hubler, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Katie, and let me share my screen here. Can you confirm that you were able to see my slide?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, great, thank you. And also, but sorry that I joined a bit late here. And I really want to start by thanking UIL for organizing this webinar, and it's great to see so many people who joined who are interested in this topic. So I will speak about TVET teachers, how UNESCO and UNIVOC see the role of TVET teachers, and also, as you indicated, talk about some of our interventions at UNESCO UNIVOC in the field of TVET teacher training. But to start, I thought it would be useful to say a few words about the role of UNESCO UNIVOC. So we are the International Center for TVET of UNESCO. UNIVOC was established in 2002, and we are based in Bonn in Germany. And our mission is to support the member states as they try to improve their national TVET systems. And we do that through capacity building and training. That also includes training for teachers. We provide technical assistance in response to requests from member states, and we promote generally networking and knowledge exchange in the field of TVET. And more broadly, we try to promote TVET as an attractive career choice for young people that is of the best possible quality and accessible to all. A lot of the work that we do is through our global UNIVOC network. That is a network of TVET institutions. We are currently present in 152 countries and have 245 member institutions, the so-called UNIVOC centers. Those are ministries responsible for TVET, national coordinating or regulatory bodies. That includes also universities and research institutions, and of course, training providers. And we estimate that with the members of our network, we represent globally more than 66 million students and more than 2 million teachers and trainers. And teachers and trainers are also an important target group for our interventions in support of TVET. Now, moving to the UNESCO strategy for TVET, that is guiding the work of UNESCO in the field of TVET until 2029. It was adopted in 2022, and it has 3 main lines of actions, and one of them, which is about the development of skills for inclusive and sustainable economies, mentions specifically support to TVET teachers and institutions to foster quality, innovation, and excellence. Now, it's important to keep in mind that the UNESCO strategy for TVET was developed at the time of COVID. And so one important goal of the strategy is to make sure that teachers and education systems are better prepared to respond to education crises such as COVID, which caused a lot of disruptions in education, in the education system. There's also a big emphasis on digital skills and pedagogies. Again, this has to do with the fact that we found during COVID that schools and countries where the IT infrastructure was very well developed and where teachers were well equipped and had the necessary skills to make good use of digital tools, did much better with maintaining education at the time of shutdown and when the schools were closed than countries where the IT infrastructure was less well developed and where teachers and students did not have access to devices or did not have the necessary skills to make the effective use of those devices. More generally, the UNESCO strategy for TVET also promotes improved training and qualifications of teachers. UNESCO wants to make sure that the teaching career is an attractive career choice. That also means that there should be a sufficient investment in teacher education by governments. Teaching should also be recognized as a professional career for skilled professionals, and it should be accompanied by good pre-service and in-service teacher training and professional life development within a lifelong learning perspective. The UNESCO strategy for TVET also refers frequently to UNIVOC and the UNIVOC network. And here, for example, it mentions the role of UNIVOC, the UNIVOC network in capacity building, peer learning, and knowledge sharing to drive innovation and resilience in TVET institutions. And that also includes, of course, the role of teachers who are very important in driving innovations in school and also need to be resilient themselves. Now I want to move to the UNIVOC medium-term strategy. This complements the UNESCO strategy for TVET. UNIVOC has its own strategy for every 3 years. We're currently in the mid-year of our 2024 to 2026 strategy. We have defined 4 outcomes in that strategy, and one of them mentions specifically TVET teachers and other staff of TVET institutions. And the goal of UNIVOC is to make sure these staff are equipped with the necessary skills that they need to better meet the needs of learners. There's also an emphasis on marginalized and disadvantaged groups, such as women, migrants, refugees, or persons with disabilities. In addition, we have a geographic focus on Africa and small island developing states, which are priority regions for UNESCO. UNIVOC recognizes that teachers and trainers are at the front line of TVET delivery, and to play their important role in TVET, they are in need also, of course, of continuous professional development, and they need opportunities for learning and acquiring new skills to keep up to date with, for example, technical change that we observe in the education system. It's also very important to keep in mind that teachers play a very important role in making sure that TVET is equitable and inclusive. This is connected to Sustainable Development Goal 4, which is about education for all. And of course, that also includes TVET for all, that should be accessible to everyone and of good quality. We have some programs that are of benefit to teachers, for example, the TVET Leadership Program and the so-called EDGE program, which stands for Entrepreneurship, Digitalization, Greening, and Equity. Maybe later in the discussion, I can talk a bit more about these programs if there is time. And then finally, as UNIVOC, we place a heavy emphasis on the development of digital and green literacy. This is connected to the fact that the dual green and digital transformation is a priority for UNESCO in the field of education. And that means, for example, that teachers need to be able to make use of technology, including the use of AI. So this was the previous speaker gave a presentation about that just now. And it also includes, of course, our knowledge of green skills. And with that, I want to give some examples of the interventions of UNESCO UNIVOC that are aimed at helping TVET teachers do their job better. The first example that I want to mention are the so-called innovative and promising practices and TVET toolkits that are compiled by UNIVOC. Here we look at the members of our network, but also other members of the global TVET community, and try to identify what we call innovative and promising practices that may also be of interest to other TVET institutions and could help them provide better education. 3 examples mentioned here. The first one is from Brunei, which established in 2020 a so-called TVET Academy that aims to improve the quality of TVET in Brunei. The second example is from Germany, from the Koblenz Chamber of Skilled Crafts, which has developed a program to integrate AI in teaching and learning in TVET that on the one hand can reduce the workload for TVET teachers, but also on the other hand improve the learning experience for students and apprentices. And the third example here is from the United States, from Hudson Valley Community College, that launched in 2022 a Train the Trainer program for people working on maintenance of electric vehicles. Now, from this dissemination of innovative practices, I want to move to a more practical intervention. Here, I will give an example of UNIVOC working in South Sudan in collaboration with the UNESCO Country Office. South Sudan is currently trying to build up its national TVET system to improve the quality of TVET in the country, and UNIVOC came in to support 2 specific aspects. We've offered our support with regard to greening and gender transformation to make sure that these principles are incorporated in national TVET curricula. Our intervention started with a needs assessment and identification of gaps in national TVET curricula and in the way teaching is provided there. We offered ways of integrating environmental sustainability principles and climate resilience in TVET programs, while at the same time having a focus on gender inequity. We organized workshops in the country aimed at staff members from 17 local institutions, where we gave them access to knowledge tools and awareness of climate issues and issues related to gender and other important topics. And then we also provided some guidance. You see here a guideline on the screen that we published on introducing green skills in TVET curricula that are both relevant to the local economy, can help the local economy grow, but it also address environmental challenges at the level of South Sudan as a country. In total, we reached through our training 80 staff members. That in itself doesn't look like a big number, but when you combine that with teachers and other staff members that we reached through other interventions, we have in fact quite a big impact at the global level. And the third and final example that I wanted to mention is related to the topic that the previous speaker spoke about. We are currently developing a practical guide for integrating AI in TVET. This is done jointly with Otto von Guericke University Magdeburg and Shenzhen Polytechnic University. They are both members of the UNIVOC network. And this complements a lot of the existing guidance that UNESCO has already published related to AI in education. Mr. Hahn, for example, mentioned the AI competency framework for teachers, but UNESCO has so far not published anything specifically targeted at TVET teachers. So this is something that we hope to address with this forthcoming guide. It is aimed at staff of TVET institutions. That includes not only teachers and trainers, but also leaders and managers. And we want to help them integrate AI skills in TVET qualifications. And the target publication date is June of next year. It will contain a section on foundational principles for the use of AI in TVET. It will address the responsibilities of the different stakeholders and how they should coordinate with each other to make sure that the entire TVET ecosystem is AI ready. And finally, there is a guide with comprehensive guidance for different members of the TVET community on how they can integrate AI in their institutions. And there is also a specific section on TVET teachers. There's also a way you in the audience can contribute, and I really want to invite you to share with UNIVOC successful practices and innovative uses of AI and TVET in your institutions. You can share with us challenges and opportunities that you identified for the use of AI in TVET. And then once it's published, of course, we invite all of you to apply this guide in your institution and share the lessons learned. To conclude, I want to just come back to some key messages. One is, and I think we agree on all of that, is that the TVET teachers have a very central role to play in skills development and lifelong learning. But at the same time, teachers themselves also should have access to ongoing professional development and lifelong learning opportunities. Three important topics that I mentioned are skills for teachers in the field of digital technology with regard to greening and sustainability, and finally, inclusivity and equity. Teachers have to be aware of these three important topics. They need to have the appropriate skills to incorporate these areas in their training and to transfer those skills to their students. And finally, a reminder of the role of UNIVOC. Again, as I said, we are supporting all member states in strengthening their TVET systems through various interventions, and TVET teachers are a very important target audience for us. So thank you again for letting me speak about our work. I believe the presentations will be shared with you, and they can also find our contact information here, and I look forward to the discussion later. Thank you, and back to you, Katie.
Thank you, Friedrich, so much. Thank you for your insightful presentation and, how you highlighted not only the crucial components of the UNESCO strategy for TVET and how that sort of sets the stage for all this, but also those last connections between TVET teachers and lifelong learning is, so inspirational for all of us here and obviously very relevant to the topic and our work. So thank you so much. I would like to just take a moment to remind our speakers to address or answer any questions in the Q&A box if they are obviously relevant to your work and to your presentation. You can answer them in the Q&A. Also to our participants, don't forget to use the Q&A box to engage with the speakers and be sure to address the speakers directly so we know who you are asking questions to. And now we will go to our last, but certainly not least speaker. Our next speaker is our colleague, Ms. Vera Braun. Ms. Braun is a junior professor of business and economic education at the University of Hamburg. Her research focuses on vocational education and training, meritocracy, career biographies, and lifelong learning, with current projects on university dropouts who attended vocational education and training and vocational teachers learning. Ms. Braun will present her ongoing case study, which focuses on TVET teachers and lifelong learning in the context of Germany. So, Ms. Braun, thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much for this kind introduction and also for having me here, for the invitation, and hello to everybody. I'm just sharing my slides. One moment. Okay, now let's start. I conducted a case study about TVET teachers' lifelong learning in Germany, and that is what I'd like to present today. Obviously, due to time issues, only just a few results I selected. I would like to start with a really brief introduction into the TVET teacher education system in Germany, just to give you an overview. There are different ways to become a vocational teacher in Germany, and I'll just focus on the main route, the, so to say, general way, the main option that is used by the teacher students. This main option consists of 3 phases. The first phase is the phase of initial teacher training, and it takes place mainly at university, sometimes also at other higher education institutions. Teacher students usually spend 5 years there and complete a master's degree or an equivalent. Then they move on to phase 2. This is a preparatory in-service training at a vocational school with a duration of 12 to 24 months, depending on the region. This phase is about teaching practice. It's about learning how to teach under the supervision of experienced teachers. Phase 3. This is the phase of continuing professional development. Usually the school managements are responsible for the coordination of this phase, and there are many different formats and providers of further education and training. Against this backdrop, from now on, the presentation focuses on 3 key questions. The first one: what policies, institutional frameworks, and professional development models in Germany support TVET teachers' continuous learning? Second one: how is the role of TVET teachers in Germany evolving to promote a culture of lifelong learning, and what lessons can be drawn from this for other contexts? And the third question: what key opportunities, challenges, and barriers do German TVET teachers encounter in pursuing and promoting lifelong learning? Let's start with question number 1 and take a look at the policies and institutional frameworks that support TVET teachers' continuous learning. We start at the highest political institution and institutional level, and then stepwise proceed down to further levels. When we talk about lifelong learning in Germany, we have to talk about the education policy of the European Union, because this is the background. This is the, I would say, stimulator of lifelong learning policy in Germany. Due to the influence of the EU policy, lifelong learning has been an integral part of educational standards in Germany since the beginning of the century, mostly in the context of economic competition. It is a major aim of the European Union to stay economically competitive in the global world, and that is why they promote lifelong learning. As an example, there is a declaration that representatives of the European Union and the member states adopted in Osnabrück in 2020. This declaration emphasizes the importance of lifelong learning and of TVET as essential for facilitating the transition to a green, digital, and also sustainable economy. The declaration recognizes the importance of teachers and trainers for a culture of lifelong learning. It states that dedicated teachers, guidance counselors, trainers, and mentors who benefit from high quality and inclusive initial and continuous professional development and who act as multipliers and mediators are key to a culture of lifelong learning. In order to implement the objectives and agreements of the Osnabrück Declaration, the signatory countries are drawing up national implementation plans. The German plans states the following aims with regard to lifelong learning of vocational teachers: the modernization of further training content and formats for teaching staff and in-company trainers, and the development of career advancement, continuing training for trainers and teaching staff to integrate sustainability-related content in all VET courses. At the level of agreements and standards agreed upon by the regions in Germany, there is also an emphasis placed on lifelong learning and continuing education. The so-called KMK plays a major role here. What is this? KMK is the German abbreviation for the Standing Conference of Ministers of Education and Cultural Affairs. It is a coordinating body, and it is needed because we have 16 regions in Germany, and each region has its own government, which is responsible for the education system in the corresponding region. And the KMK brings together representatives of the regions and guarantees a minimum level of uniformity in the education sector. At the level of higher education institutions offering TVET teacher education, there is an agreement on a so-called basic curriculum. It states that during phase 1, the study program should equip the teacher students with the ability and commitment to continuously acquire the latest national and international scientific knowledge in their professional field through further education in the sense of lifelong learning. In general, there is an underpinning understanding of TVET teacher professionalism in Germany, defining it as a long-term biographical process of professionalization. And a central role in this context plays the reflection and feedback. This is very central in this understanding. And thus, lifelong learning is discussed and also fostered implicitly in different ways. Now we come to the second question concerning the role of TVET teachers promoting lifelong learning. According to my knowledge, there is hardly any research on this directly. The focus of German research is on professionalism, professionalization of TVET teachers, but not explicitly on lifelong learning and their role as facilitators of lifelong learning. However, we have the possibility to draw back on literature which recommends teaching and learning settings to foster lifelong learning. Student-centered, collaborative, problem-based, competence-oriented, and participatory. And these types of teaching and learning correspond very well to TVET teacher education and its standards in Germany concerning the didactics and teaching methods future teachers learn and also have to apply during the phases 1 and 2. But we have to admit that there is a problem according to the state of research and also according to what teacher students tell us from their internships, that often traditional ways of teaching are still prevailing in many TVET schools. Nevertheless, I would like to highlight that there are good practice examples, innovative schools with innovative concepts. The lessons we can learn from them are that teaching and learning methods fostering lifelong learning of TVET students have certain prerequisites. For example, a corresponding school culture. Also, interdisciplinary teams, team teaching, highly flexible structures in everyday school life, and also learning landscapes instead of classrooms, just to name some of them. Let us now move on to question 3, the opportunities, challenges, and barriers. Firstly, as an opportunity, we may conclude that lifelong learning is implemented as a main feature of policy documents and of the understanding of teacher professionalism in Germany. Secondly, we have to conclude that the continuing teacher training sector is very decentralized and not much institutionalized. This may represent both strengths and also weakness. Lifelong learning, I think, is comparable and also related to informal learning, and both of them are highly individual. Thus, too much formalization would be counterproductive. But what would be productive is creating as many options as possible, building bridges, creating high-quality options, and that seems to be still in progress in Germany. Currently, there are major challenges in TVET due to migration, the reception of refugees, and a shortage of teachers. Thus, engaging in continuing professional development might not be the most pressing issue of teachers who sometimes struggle to cope with their everyday lives. At the same time, these very challenges create even more demand for further training. A challenge is that teachers traditionally have a high degree of autonomy regarding the practice of their profession and the design of lessons. In part, this is because they are mostly civil servants. As a result, they have very secure jobs and generally do not like it when others interfere in their work. They have their established practices and often want to stick to them. This is also reflected in school cultures, which often lack teamwork and mutual feedback. Older teachers in particular, of whom there are currently many in Germany, often tend to resist new ways of teaching and learning. And young teachers often tend to draw on the kind of teaching they themselves have experienced as students. So student-centered methods are more time-consuming and complex than traditional instruction. That's what we know. So they require teamwork, which requires a corresponding school culture. All in all, lifelong learning is mentioned in many documents and standards in relation to TVET teachers, and it is addressed in the 3 phases of teacher education in Germany. But according to my impression, often more implicitly than explicitly. There are still many unanswered questions because the state of research on lifelong learning of TVET teachers is very limited. And from my perspective, there is still a lot to be done to facilitate TVET teachers' lifelong learning in Germany. So thank you very much for listening. Here are my contact details.
Perfect. Thank you, Vera. What an insightful presentation. And, you emphasize the need for appropriate environments to support lifelong learning and the facilitation of lifelong learning, particularly in this context of TVET. So it was really, really interesting to hear you talk about it. So thank you so much. We are going close to the end of this webinar. We have time for about one Q&A question discussion. That being said, I emphasize and hope that the speakers also address questions in the Q&A for some people who still ask questions. So that being said, there have been quite a few questions for Mr. Han. Mr. Han, if you were there, if you'd like to respond to one question before we close.
Uh,
Are you there? Perfect. So there was a
Which
really
question is for me? I don't know. Don't see the question in the QA area.
That's okay. Don't worry. I'll read it to you. So
Okay.
there's a very interesting question here. Could you elaborate on the specific channels and processes for how feedback would be systematically gathered for educators in the context of, AI literacy and TVET, and how it's reviewed and how is it incorporated into iterative improvements to support TVET teachers, I suppose.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, we developed a model for teacher AI competence development. I think the core of the competence is we want to integrate the training of teacher with the daily teaching of the teacher. So that is key. I think if you just only do the training in the separate from the teaching practice, that is no good. That's our experience in the past 20 years. So from 2012, we developed a model for the integrate the training to the teaching of the daily practice. So as you see that right now that model is proposed in 2018 for the blended learning competence. Right now, I think that from last year we developed for the AI companies. That is, we have not only the content of the training is about AI. Also use AI to support the teacher to do their daily practice, daily teaching practice. So I think the key is integration between training and the daily teaching. So we developed AI agent that is the training by the specific content about the AI teaching in the vocational education teachers. So that is the agent is continue to modify and I think this do the better and better. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mr. Han. Unfortunately, we don't have any more time for more questions, although there's some really great ones in the Q&A box. And I would like to now thank all of our speakers for attending today and preparing your presentations. And I'd like to thank you for just your engagement today in terms of preparing.
I just have a question for the Hubler. Mr. Hubler said that you have a plan to formulate AI competence for TVET teacher. Do you have any plan?
So Unilog itself, we don't have any plans to develop a competency framework for TVET teachers. There is a competency framework for AI competency framework for teachers that I believe you referred to in your presentation. The plan that we are preparing is generally for integrating AI in TVET. So it's not so much about competency. It's not a competency framework, but there will be some discussion of competencies that are needed by teachers, by managers, and also by students.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much. So I will now hand it over to my colleague, Annapurna, for some closing remarks as we come to the close of this webinar. Annapurna, over to you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you perfect.
Thanks, Caitlin. First of all, I'm really honored to deliver the closing remarks on behalf of our team at UIL. And to start off, firstly, I would really like to thank all our speakers, Mr. Han, Mr. Hubler, and Ms. Brown, for their thoughtful contributions as well as insights on this topic. And of course, I want to express our thanks to our partner, Shanghai Normal University, for their continued collaboration on this project on teachers as lifelong learners. And I want to thank my colleagues and our dedicated team at UIL who make such webinars possible, and for today's session in particular. So today's exchanges have really provided a very rich foundation, if I could call it, for reflecting on TVET and how it can be useful, or how we can embrace TVET as from a lifelong learning perspective, and how TVET teachers are central to making this vision a reality. So before we leave this webinar, allow me to just highlight a few take-home messages that emerged for me from the discussions. The first message is that lifelong learning for TVET teachers is not optional, it is foundational. As workplaces are transforming around us and we see that technologies such as generative AI, they have the potential to reshape the skills landscape, TVET teachers must continuously expand their knowledge, evolve their instructional approaches, and cultivate strong professional identities and competencies. But their adaptability, reflective practice, and openness to ongoing learning are essential for remaining effective in such dynamic environments. But this then brings me to the second message, which for me is about the role of teachers themselves. So it seems that TVET teachers are playing a pivotal dual role. So on one hand, they are learners and facilitators of lifelong learning, but on the other hand, they have to also foster lifelong learning for their learners themselves. So how can they do this? So it seems from the presentations of all our speakers, but also the question and answers I could see on the Q&A box, it seems one of the things is by modeling curiosity, critical and ethical engagement with AI, green, entrepreneurial, and inclusive competencies, as well as learner-centered approaches, which Ms. Brown highlighted, teachers can nurture in their students the dispositions which matter today, which would be in today's evolving world, flexibility, problem solving, and a continuous lasting commitment to personal and professional growth. But of course, I don't think we should put all the pressure on the individuals themselves, and it it also matters how the enabling environments and coherent policies are supporting such an essential evolving role of teachers. So the responsibility of lifelong learning should not rest only on the individual teacher's motivation, but also we need workplace cultures that value continuous professional development and meaningful learning opportunities in order to empower our teachers to grow into their new expanding roles. And now I think I just want to leave you with two messages which are really important. One is that as the labor markets are shifting, TVET systems must embrace flexible and diverse learning pathways. Many of our speakers have alluded to this, which is that adults gain knowledge through formal, non-formal and informal experiences. And TVET systems must recognize that there are varied routes through which learners can have multiple entry and exit points, modular and learner-centered pathways, and approaches such as recognition of prior learning, which ensure that diverse learners can continue to develop their competencies throughout their lives. And all of this means that we are in a time of transition and we need flexible TVET systems. But building such an agile TVET ecosystem, according to me, requires very strong collaboration and knowledge exchange. So today's dialogues have reaffirmed to me that there is a very strong need for cooperation amongst institutions, research, communities, and industry partners to keep pace with these transformations, and that teachers must have opportunities to engage with the industry, to access the current knowledge, and to participate actively, even as innovators within their schools and systems. So with that, I would like to note that we have come to the end of this webinar, and we have come to the final webinar of this year. But that's not the end of our journey. And we would like to remind you that next year we will come back again with a new series of webinars within this continued project and framework of teachers as lifelong learners. So I would like to say that stay tuned for more updates from UIL and watch out for the recording of this webinar. So thank you once again for your participation, your commitment, and for your continued engagement. And thank you so much, and we'll continue the journey next year. Caitlin, over to you.
Perfect. So with that, we are closing the webinar, and thank you again for your participation and engagement. And it's been wonderful to engage with everyone here today. So thank you so much.